Hello and welcome. In this video we'll take a look at the progress I've been making in regards to the Thunderbird toolkit through Adventures in Plastic from Bachmann. Over the past couple of days I've been building the lifting body, as it's so termed, and I thought I'd take you through a little bit about what I've been doing in this short update and talk a bit about how I find the kit itself. Based on a comment that said it was first released in 1992, I decided to take a bit of a look at it as I'm building it in terms of details and accuracy. And I think for the model's age, I think a mistake has been made in regards to the legs, because the reason I say this is for the container dock where all the pods are kept, because as everybody knows, if you're watching the show, the pods would slide on a conveyor belt underneath it before being lowered down. But I've looked at the positioning of the holes for the legs. They're much too close together, which makes it a little more pardon me, inaccurate in terms of that, because it means you can't really do the conveyor belt scenes as seen in Trapped in the Sky and Pit of Peril, for example. I think the after ones ought to be a bit further back, more towards the vertical jets located on the main body, where the main reactor is for the engine, as well as other equipment. I also think that these holes are a bit too big in terms for the legs, because whether you choose to have it in flying mode or whether you have it on the ground after releasing the pod to rescue, well, to the rescue, these are a bit too close together, and therefore and these a bit too big for the holes, as the feet of the standing legs would retract and form part of the fairing around the vertical jets for landing. So all in all, Thunderbird 2 actually has 8 vertical jets, 4 in the legs, and 4 on the main body as well. I think, as it says in the Thunderbird's technical manual from Haynes. I also noticed that on the instructions it says to not glue Thunderbird 2 body, legs or pod to each other, which seems to suggest that whether you have it flying or on the ground is optional and can be interchanged at various intervals. However, the modeler chooses to display it. But other than the slight errors I've noticed, it's a pretty good kit in regards to its age. But one thing I've noticed that is missing that would make a big difference is on the nose section, because there's no lining or anything for the hatch that's located under Thunderbird 2's nose, which houses the small mechanical grab, the escape module, as well as another magnetic grab and various cables and other equipment. It's not shown on here for where it's located, even though the modeler might know, which makes it tricky to put the hatch in if a modeler chooses to scratch build mechanical grabs for a diorama they may choose to make for a rescue scene. And I've decided that when I come to do the windows for the cockpit, I'm just going to paint them grey as it says on the, instead of what it says in the instructions, in order to complement the windows underneath because of the lack of detail in the cockpit section. There are decals for the instrument panel and whatnot, but I've tested it and you can't really see much through the main windows. So I've decided that once I put them in, I'm going to paint them grey, the same as these, to hide the interior for what I'm going to be doing. And as for the pod, I've noticed that on the back it's got a flap, which indicates to me that this is either pod 1, 3 or 6, as they are the only pods to have a rear flap on them for access to put on the vehicles such as the excavator and monobrake, as seen in the episode Brink of Disaster where the monobrake is released through the rear. Pods 2, 4 and 5 don't have the hatch on the back on account of the equipment that they've been designed to carry, because pod 2 houses a large mechanical grab, pod 4 is kind of obvious with Thunderbird 4, and pod 5 has the mobile laboratory. And for those of you who've built the container dock, I have a question. I know that it comes with additional pods, but do the backs of them have the flaps on them like this? Are they all the same moulding, or are they different? Because that would indicate pods 1, 3 and 6 only. I think a few bit of jiggery pokery would be needed to sand this down if you want to produce pods 2, 4 and 5. Or 5 as you choose to do it. But that's all for this episode. It's a brief description on what else I've been doing. I've been starting to paint the launch rail for Thunderbird 4, and also some of the engines, but parts of the engines, ready for assembly. I'm holding off on building the rest of it until I get the right paints for it, as stated in the instructions. Because right now I don't have them. So I've also painted parts of the domo and the front flap. That's all for now. See you in the next episode. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.